It is Thursday, May 14th, 2020. I'm talking to someone I've been trying to reach out for a while in just this particular field. I put out a notification back in April on Twitter trying to get in contact with people who work in the commercial real estate space. There was a nice gentleman, Mr. Randy Gibbs, who a few weeks back had tried to set up this call, and I want to give him a shout out for doing that in particular. I'm talking to Miss Kenisha Robnett, and I know she got really upset at first when I got her name wrong. I'm so used because I have someone who I'm pretty tight with, whose name is spelled almost like yours, but it's like Isha, and so I'm trying to not say Isha. But Kenisha Robnett, she is with Remax, and she is here in particular to talk about the commercial real estate space. And as we know, during the downturn in COVID-19, there's a lot of things that play in the real estate market, and there's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation going on. I wanted to talk to Kenisha about what's actually going on in the space here in Atlanta, and what are some things that people should know about it that maybe not been addressed correctly. All right, so without further ado, I'll have her introduce more of herself. But Kenisha, could you let people know who you are?
Sure. I'm Kenisha Robnett. I am with Remax Commercial, Remax Platinum Access. That office, to be exact, based out of Sandy Springs, North Atlanta. Been in this commercial space for over 15 years. Have an extensive background. I've done full-time brokerage for a large firm that merged with Cushman & Wakefield for 5 years doing tenant rep. Then went to Walmart, did Walmart big box real estate development, leasing, lease negotiations, etc. For a few years, and then came back to full-time brokerage, which with a smaller shop in Atlanta, and so servicing landlords, developers, tenants, kind of just with everything, retail, office, industrial, you name it. So I have seen a definite shift in the market due to COVID, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some insight with you all.
Okay. And so the first thing I want to ask you is that one of the things I've been seeing a lot of people say online, and then some people in real life when I do go out, is just saying that, well, they think real estate's about to bottom out and everyone's about to buy real estate. Do you think that's actually happening, or do you see any information to actually confirm that?
I think what people are looking at is the interest rates. And I would say because the interest rates are particularly low right now, and that, of course, is a good indicator for people to buy. Most investors look for that as an indicator to go out and use other people's money to fund their deals, use leverage. And that's just a great investment strategy. And so I could see, that being a clear indicator. But as far as bottoming out, I can't say that for sure. There's still a lot of uncertainty in the market. It just depends on what side you're on. If you're on the leasing side, you don't know what kind of financial situation the landlord is in or the developer is in. There's been a lot of activity that has ceased because City Hall was closed down. I know a couple of projects that I was working on with developers, the tenants couldn't even activate their spaces or, start their build out because they couldn't get C of O. They couldn't get their permit. So a lot of that has paused. So it's from an investment standpoint, it just depends on what side of the fence you're on. Are you investing? Are you, were you looking to get a retail space and obtain tenants, but then you couldn't do that because, the financing situation changed? Or were you paying, a mortgage on the space, but you couldn't get people in the space? And so now you're looking for assistance from the government. So it just really depends on what side of the fence you're on. But from an investor standpoint, yes, interest rates are low. So just be careful with how you position yourself in the market to be successful.
Okay. And so one of the other things I want to ask you in particular is that there's a lot of speculation that the real estate market on the commercial and is about to go through a real downturn. Do you see any indication that's going to happen on the commercial side?
I would say that the biggest shift that we're going to see is a shift in the mom and pop stores or retailers or restaurants or businesses. It just seems like they've been hit the hardest. Some of your big box guys are going to get the quote unquote bailouts or the assistance or the major multi-million-dollar loans, and but is some of the smaller shops that may not be able to recover as quickly. You think about like what stores have been open during this whole recession, and they may have been the grocers, your Publix, or your something like your Walmart or your Targets or your Home Depots. But a lot of the other shops that have been closed are the smaller mom and pops. So to me, it seems like there's going to be a larger gap between the extremely wealthy and then the poor. So you're kind of like phasing out the middle class. That's what it seems like. And the middle class oftentimes are your mom and pop shops, your small restaurants, your one-off investment opportunities. You know, so, and that's why a lot of the barbershops and hair salons, you know, these people were fighting in Georgia, you know, to be open because that's their livelihood. So as far as commercial real estate, you know, taking a shift, you have to look at it from what businesses are being affected, you know, what businesses will cease to exist, what businesses will continue to exist. So.
Okay. And one of the things that, in particular, you're in commercial real estate in Atlanta. What in particular has been the Atlanta market pre and post COVID so far?
Pre-COVID, we were doing fantastic. Market was up. All of the sectors were successful. It was an upward trend in office and retail and multifamily. Everything was successful. We had a lot of shovels in the ground. There was a lot of groundbreakings for multifamily. If you look just at the skyline of Atlanta itself, there's just a lot of cranes and a lot of development. And I can't say that that's going to cease. We might have less projects coming online because of the uncertainty. I believe that the projects that were already started will continue because they were already funded. It's just a matter of waiting for City Hall to continue with permits, to continue with construction. Construction was already deemed an essential service. Real estate is also, on the residential and commercial side, deemed an essential service. It's just a matter of how do you conduct these meetings? How do you conduct their showings? How do you conduct the closings? I know that they had passed some temporary, scenarios so that law firms can close virtually, using electronic signatures and so forth. But, will we see a major shift like we did in, 10 years ago or so? Hopefully not. Hopefully that we will adjust and bounce back a little quicker than we did before, with a lot of the assistance from the government and just making some changes like internally. I do think that there will be some changes. Like we saw a lot of office spaces such as WeWorks, where there was a lot of community gathering. So I think there will be some adjusting in that regard, a lot of community space and a lot of sharing and the co-working. What would that look like after the fact? What would that look like as far as, you coming into an office space and touching a switch? There may be some changes that will have to happen on the co-working spaces or the office sector. People aren't going to want to sit so close to one another, or might not want to share a workspace, or might not want to share a computer or share a desk space. So I think companies like that will need to make some adjustments on the office side. And same thing on the retail. How can we protect people and still do business?
Okay. And so that was one thing I was going to ask you, which was what, if anything, has been like on the consumer side of it, their impact on what you've seen in the real estate market? Because are people just less afraid to even venture out right now, or less afraid to even talk to somebody like you about that space? Or has it just been kind of more of the same?
So I think the consumers are being really careful. I think that after when the governor actually opened Georgia, we saw more people trying to go outside. But as far as, you look at like Home Depot and Target and Walmart that did not see a downturn in consumers and consumer shopping. So pretty much everyone just kind of wore masks and wore gloves and continued life as usual. But it may be your restaurants that people are trying to figure out, what does that look like? I haven't even been to a restaurant yet, and I don't know when that will be. I'm a little bit more particular about kind of what I put in my body and how, but um, I don't know. I just think people are just going to be figuring out how to appropriately um, service the people safely.
Right.
Yeah. So even as far as like a lot of my leasing opportunities, I think right before we kind of closed Georgia, I was showing a space and it was an industrial warehouse flex space on the south side off of South Fulton Industrial. And we kind of all walked into the building separately, didn't shake hands. I think I saw two people elbow each other and just everyone kind of toured spaced out. We had a conversation when we left, when we all walked out, we had a conversation with mask on, kind of everyone on leaning up against different walls. But, just the unknown. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know what everything's going to look like. So just trying to continue trying to continue business, but safely.
Okay. And so on that end too, I want to ask a little bit of another switch. I know you've mentioned before just safety, and you've also mentioned just the potential threat to mom and pops.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's come up a few times, this notion of commercial tenants that are either corporate or like a Fortune 1000 company not being able to pay their rent.
Right.
In particular, we saw what happened at the Cheesecake Factory when they told Nashville they wouldn't be able to pay their rent. Do you see more of that happening in Atlanta, or is that just a one-off business?
No, absolutely. There's a lot of that going on. So there's right now we have a lot of lease renegotiating. There's a lot of landlords and developers that are maybe offering some concessions, maybe some free rent for a few months. So the tenants can, depending on the sector, depending on it, like if it's a restaurant or if it's whatever the industry is, everyone has pretty much been affected. So offering some sort of concession or free rent, or we've also seen some loan deferment. I'm sorry, a rent deferring or rent forgiveness, or just tacking the rent on the back end. So saying, hey, you don't have to pay anything for May, June, and July, or March, April, May, or something like that. We'll tack those 3 months on the end, or we'll go ahead and forgive those 3 months, depending on how, if they were a phenomenal tenant in the beginning, had never missed a payment. It just depends on the relationship with that landlord and that tenant to what they can work out. Some have worked out loans, some have worked out concessions, some have worked out deferment. Yeah, so it's better to work it out with the landlord, like hopefully there's a good relationship there, than if the tenant just stopped paying altogether, and then the landlord would have to go through the process of eviction because the courts aren't even open up yet, and that would be a long drawn out process when they could have just worked it out amongst each other.
Gotcha. Okay, and I want to ask about that in particular. There's been a lot of speculation about what's going to happen when the moratorium on evictions lifts, and speaking in the commercial sense only. In the case of what you've seen so far in the market, do you think that this is going to be really a big issue for Atlanta, or this is just a non-issue for Atlanta?
And
on the commercial side.
And what was that again?
Just this notion of evictions once the moratorium lifts.
Hopefully not. I'm hoping that they will be able to work it out amongst themselves, because that eviction process is going to be long. Like, say, for example, if the courts haven't even opened up yet, I believe they are scheduled to open up the first week in June. Mm-hmm. But you think about the backlog. Like, you have to file a dispossessory, and then you have to wait for the court date, and then you have to give them time to cure, and then you have to give them time to respond. So you're looking at, you might not even get a response until July. And so do you really want to go through that entire process, when you can just work it out amongst yourselves?
Right. Okay.
So to me, it just makes sense that, hey, if this person, it benefits both parties for those businesses to stay there. So the landlord wants the rent, but if the tenant is having a difficulty paying, then let's work that out. Let's figure out what that looks like, and then a lot of these landlords are getting assistance as well for their projects. And then the tenants are applying for payment protection or the PPP program or whatever. So if both parties get the assistance, hey, let's just figure out, how long do you need until this money starts coming in? And then we'll work that out amongst ourselves. If it's a month, is it 2 months, is it 3 months? Let me give you that, get back on your feet. And then we could either do that deferment, or we could either tack it onto the back end or something. But when you get the courts involved in this unknown, you don't, that can get kind of ugly really quick. So.
Okay. And so one of the other things I want to talk to you about, which is taking a bit of a segue, is that you're in the commercial real estate space, you're in Atlanta, and you're a Black woman in particular. That is just a rare thing in the grander scheme of like who's in real estate across the country. Mm-hmm. Do you think that it's possible to be on a level of success as you are in Atlanta because Atlanta is Atlanta, or could this be like done in other markets?
As far as me being a successful Black woman in commercial real estate in other markets?
Yes.
Oh, I would say, of course, it can be done. But it's a lot of work involved. It's a lot of toiling. It's a lot of relationship building. Commercial real estate is a relationship industry in the first place. And, and I've been a part of different organizations that have afforded me the opportunity to meet various people. Like, as far as I got my master's in real estate development, which opened a door, even though I got that in Arizona, we still have a network here in Georgia. And I also got my CCIM designation, which is a certified commercial investment member, which opened the door nationally, internationally, and also in Georgia, and afforded me a lot of relationships that for people that I have met. It's been a lot of hard work and it's been a long road. Yes, anyone can do it anywhere, but it is definitely a relationship industry, hands down. Like you don't even get deals unless, like, all of the deals that I get now are all referrals. And, I've never done any type of marketing or marketing myself or anything like that. It's just been all referrals. I do a good job and someone refers me to the next person, to the next person. So, yes, it can be done. I hope that more Black women get into this industry. I have definitely been trying to do my part to pave the way and, bring others with me. I've started a mentorship program with REAP and CCIM. I have just trying my best, to help out in that regard, because it is overdue. This industry does not at all reflect the community of Atlanta, and I definitely serve a lot of people that look like me. And so I do a lot of educating and teaching along the way, and helping a lot of these mom and pops and reviewing leases and trying to renegotiate leases and do blend and extends to keep them in business. And it's a lot of work. So yeah, I just hope that other Black women will get into this industry. It's rewarding, it's challenging, it's grueling, but I do love it.
Okay. And so I want to also ask in that regard, one of the things that I've learned about you is that you do, I don't want to call them like learning courses, but you've done a lot of like speaking in terms of educating young Black children on real estate and entrepreneurship as a whole. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. And so what is the thing right now that you're seeing as somebody who does a lot of education that you wish kids would know more coming into it?
I wish kids knew about finances, period. So I do a lot of teaching in like Doug High School. I'll go in there, and this is volunteer only. Go in there, and I'll have an hour or so with each class, and I'll talk to the students about finances, about investing, liabilities versus assets, about wealth building, about them dreaming and having the idea of what businesses do you want to start, what's on the inside of you that you could make into a business. Instead of the schools have a way of teaching them systematically to get out of high school, go get student loans, and go get a job. to work for someone else. But what's on the inside of you? What purpose do you have? What were you created here to? What problem were you created to solve? Figure that out. How can you best bring financial wealth to your family? What resources? What can you learn? Google this. Do you know about stocks? Do you know about bonds? Do you know about investing? And so, yes, I go in there and I teach that information, even if I just plant the seed for them to go out and research or look on YouTube, or to spark their interest to learn something else. That I've done my job. It's interesting that in the Atlanta public schools, where there are a lot of at-risk students, where they go to school, they don't learn about finances and money. They don't learn about investing. They don't learn about businesses. And so I've even had field trips. I've done a field trip to SunTrust Plaza. I've had a wealth coach, speak to the students. They took notes. I've done a field trip to the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and they got to hear from about the Russell legacy. They got to hear about Herman J. Russell, how he started at 16 years old investing, and how he, got this plot of land and built a duplex and sold it and paid his way to college. Learned about construction and started this whole company that's still in existence today. And he built a legacy for his children right around the block from where their school is. And they didn't even know. So why aren't they learning about this in school? And so I just took it upon myself to go in and do my part. I have the information. I see that there's a need. Hey, let me go fill that need. And that's important to me, because if I want to see people that look like me increase financially and grow and build legacy for their family, somebody has to do it. I can't depend on someone else. So I do my part.
Okay. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because one of the things I see, and this is not you, because I'm not accusing you of this, I want to be clear. I see a lot of people right now who are getting on the internet in particular saying, just get into real estate. You can get money. Just be an entrepreneur, invest in real estate, with really no plan on how to do it or really any understanding of the marketplace. And it seems to be, at least you've done your due diligence. We're really trying to explain to people the ins and outs on how this works, especially for young people, which is really a difficult task in itself. Do you think there's going to be more people who are just starting to jump in because the markets, they believe the market may be down, or they believe that real estate is a get rich quick scheme and they kind of just want to get in and get out?
Yes, and that's kind of what happened back when we had the bubble and the recession just recently. People found a way to get loans or get mortgages without, like, they were doing stated loans. You can just state how much you made instead of proving how much you made. You didn't have to, it was no doc. You didn't have to show any type of tax returns or pay stubs or credit or anything. If you had a driver's license, you could get a loan. And that got a lot of people into trouble, because a lot of people that did not educate themselves on real estate, they didn't know that, or even on mortgages. They had no idea that, 3 years from now, there's going to be a balloon payment. What does that mean? 3 years from now, this is a variable interest rate loan. So yes, it may be, 5% now, but 3 years from now, it might be 12, it might be 10. You just don't know. So if you don't educate yourself or ask the right questions up front, you could really get into a lot of trouble. So I hope that people don't do that just because interest rates are low. I don't want people going out there thinking they can get rich quick, because if the market shifts, when it can at any moment, and you have this property, how are you going to survive? How are you going to make the payments? What is your plan? You always have to have an exit strategy. You have to have, see the end from the beginning. Count the costs in advance, so you can, you can fulfill the task. You can complete the project. So I would hope not. I believe that there will be some people that go ahead and do that because they're misinformed and miseducated. And this is not a get rich quick type of investment. Real estate takes strategy, it takes education, it takes planning. So I just hope that people out there are careful. And I do, because I did get the CCM designation, I love educating. I educate my clients and I educate my people. I have also become an instructor. And so that I've noticed an increase during this pandemic in people that have taking those courses. So of course we can't teach them face to face anymore. All of our classes have been virtual and online, but there has been an influx of people educating themselves on commercial real estate investing, financial analysis, market analysis, etc. So I'm grateful for that. I just hope that more people do educate themselves before jumping in.
Okay. And just wrapping up, I do have one question I know some people are going to ask me in particular, which is, do you have any tips on how small business owners can stay in their place, or at least not lose like their spots for their businesses?
Make sure that they have a seasoned real estate representative that can either renegotiate their leases for them. You could do, like I said, a blend and extend. And that, what a blend and extend is, hey, you may renegotiate a rent reduction today and extend the lease for longer term. Or, you know, someone that can just look at the lease, look at force majeure, look at some of the clauses in the lease to protect them today for the long run. So even if they need to ask for some concessions or for some deferment or forgiveness, that can be done. But you need a seasoned real estate professional that could review those leases for you to make sure that they're protected. Or even a real estate attorney, you know, that is a real estate attorney, not just any regular attorney. You need to know someone that understands the clauses to protect the tenants and that has their best interest at heart. So.
Okay. And is there anything you want people to know about you or your firm or anything like that you're doing?
Well, sure. You know, like I said, I'm with Remax Platinum Access. My broker is Yolanda Rose. She's phenomenal. She's outstanding. If anybody wants to reach out to us or the firm for information or have questions, the office number is 404-250-9360. My email address is firstname.lastname@gmail.com, which is KENISHA.ROBNETT@gmail.com. You can feel free to reach out to me there, or I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there as well if you had any questions. We've been doing, you know, lease review for a lot of clients, just to help them out during this time, doing some educating as well. And we can't help but educate because we're just big on that. You know, I can't not, you know, I can't undo all this information that I've received with the masters and with the CCIM. It just pours out all the time. So we do educate our clients. We do kind of make sure that we forecast and kind of make sure they're protected. There's always an exit strategy. So if anyone wants to reach out, you are more than welcome to do so. We'd love to assist you all. And King, if you ever have any other questions, I'm an open book. So let me know.
I definitely will. And once again, thank you, Kenisha, for taking time out today. We definitely had some technical difficulties this morning or afternoon, and I'm glad you stayed with it. Once again, you guys, please, like, she actually is a really good source of information. If you haven't found her already, she does have an Instagram account. I think you guys should see. She's pretty active on that as well. She does do a lot of great things as well, so make sure if you need to, give her a call. Once again, thank you guys for listening. If wherever you heard this at, please like and subscribe. And more importantly, if you haven't already, please sign up for my newsletter at iamkingwilliams.substack.com. Again, iamkingwilliams.substack.com. Thank you once again, Kenisha, for taking out time today.
You're welcome.